Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Too Weird Didn't Watch.
The show where we talk about movies that we have not seen. I'm Brantley.
So you guys aren't in the room with us. There's no video here, but I gave Brantley a look like, why aren't you saying your name? And I was the one who goofed up. I'm Albert. And if you listened to last week's episode, you will know that we are continuing through a delightful series of werewolf films starring, what's the man's name?
I have to go back up. Paul Naschy.
Paul Naschy. And these are all Mexican...
Spanish.
Oh, for some reason you said Spanish, and I was thinking like, yes, Spanish language, but in Mexico, because they had a lot of wild stuff in Mexico too. But no, actually from Spain?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So, Spanish movies about the same Wolfman? Like, these are all in sequence?
Waldemar, I don't know how I'm pronouncing it. Spanish, I should know how to do that. Daninsky.
Okay. Last week, we left off where he was once again killed by somebody who loved him enough.
Yes, a woman who loved him enough to end his torment.
To end his torment.
That time was Elvira, and she's now a vampire, roaming the world at large.
Let's see if that comes up in this next movie, Brantley. Take us away.
The next movie is Dr. Jekyll and the Wolfman. Which, Universal, why did you not do that?
That's a pretty good one. I like the idea.
They kind of did with Dracula Meets the Wolfman. Or House of Dracula, yeah.
It was Dr. Jekyll in that one?
There's a guy who gets infected by Frankenstein's blood, or Dracula's blood, and basically becomes Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Right, here's my problem with that. Like, nobody wants Dr. Jekyll. Dr. Jekyll's the boring one. Dr. Jekyll's like the guy who has both sides. He isolated the evil side in Mr. Hyde, and all of the incarnations he's like stronger and ugly, and nobody wants to see the normal doctor who just has some negative impulses that are unchecked in Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
They want to see Mr. Hyde. This better be an actual Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
Really.
Daninsky searches for a cure to his lycanthropy because, he's been killed and brought back so many times, he might as well try to find a cure at this point.
Here's the thing, though. This guy got a lot of people that love him.
No, yeah.
4 movies in now, and granted, one of them was lost, but he's got lots and lots of people who are like, I love you enough to end your torment, and it's always a different woman.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I would be trying to exit that life.
All right, he's searching for a cure of his lycanthropy by visiting the grandson of the infamous Dr. Jekyll.
Okay.
He is given a serum that transforms him to a Hyde-like personality in the hope that it will sublimate his werewolf self. But it results unfortunately it results in an even more savage monster.
Yeah?
Because now you have super uninhibited werewolf going around, who's not limited by the full moon.
Who is surprised by this? Obviously, yes. That's what the story was about. Okay.
This is a very short one, unlike the previous few, but the last sentence is hilarious. The film features a classic scene wherein the werewolf transforms in an elevator, much to the chagrin of a female fellow passenger. Which is not the word I would use horror.
Yeah,
or terror.
That's a delightful use of the word chagrin.
Just this is you're ruining my day right now.
I'm gonna look it up, actually. I know what it means, but I want to read the definition of the word chagrin so that I'm, really on board with, yes. A disquietude or distress of mind.
Just don't know.
Caused by humiliation, disappointment, or failure.
No, don't do that. It'll make the ride slower.
He's just disappointed.
You might eat me. I don't like that. No. Meanwhile, oh, pain!
I was so horrified by myself that I turned into a worse rendition of myself. Why?
Hubris! All right. Up next, we have the 7th movie in the series, The Black Harvest of Countess Dracula.
I like this title. This is a good title.
It's from 1973, so 2-year gap since the last movie.
They're slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
They're making Star Wars movies faster than these things now.
Yeah, they are. When the wealthy Count Daninsky kills a wolf on his grounds, it transforms into a gypsy upon death. And he finds himself cursed by the vengeful gypsy witch, who is angry about him killing one of her band.
I like the idea that this was a reverse, a were-human. He got bit by a gypsy one night and he transforms on. Okay.
This one is like kind of like a soft reboot, going back to basics.
Right? Well, they bring the gypsy... Every time that you need to get the lore of the werewolf, you bring the gypsies in. Which I guess is something you couldn't do today. Like, having the gypsies be sort of the exotic other would be labeled as racism.
Yeah, and it was also because they traveled, because they didn't have a spot they lived. So
right,
they're coming in, and then one of them has to be a werewolf.
They're, by definition, the other.
Yeah.
So it's easy to put the othering aspect onto them as, like, they must have some magic powers that we know not of.
Real quick, Maliva knew that her son's a werewolf and did nothing to contain him. Just saying.
What would you do? Like, she lives in a wagon.
Okay, you could lock him in the wagon. We see in a later movie that the Wolfman can't get to someone to kill. He passes out.
Wouldn't he just bust down the door?
I mean, maybe, but this is like movie 1. Also,
Fair
she's
enough.
had him around for a while, and there's not a trail of bodies of people hunting them down.
Okay.
Anyways.
What was the title again? The Black Harvest of what?
Countess Dracula.
Google Complete not doing much for me there. Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'll leave the first option there was gifts. The witch orders a young, beautiful gypsy girl to seduce Daninsky, and then, while he is sleeping, bite him with the skull of a wolf, which she smuggles into the Count's mansion. When she presses the skull's fangs into his skin, Daninsky becomes a werewolf! And
again,
parenthetical, again, this is kind of a reboot. Without a doubt, the most original of all of Daninsky's various origins in the series. I would like to remind you, he was bitten by a yeti at one point.
Yeah. Maybe they're talking about
and then another time, he was a wax figure brought to life by aliens. But sure.
Okay, so this is the Black Harvest of Countess Dracula. I gotta say, this is the one that I can't find any info on. Is there an alternate title?
All of these had multiple titles. I picked either the one that came up first or the one that was the most interesting to me.
Okay, I do have a poster here now, which looks like all the other posters. It says Mecenaire della Contessa Dracula.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know what harvest in Spanish is.
I do not either.
All right, so she's Gypsy Woman mad at this guy for killing a werewolf.
Who is part of her band. And she's a witch.
Right. And so her revenge is to turn him into a werewolf?
Yes.
And now he can't be killed. This seems like a bet, get a knife and kill the dude. What are you doing?
Okay,
either it's here's the two options. Either it's a torment to be a werewolf and you should be thankful that he managed to kill one and put it out of its misery, or it's awesome because you're really hard to kill and she's just given him the really hard to kill side of things.
Well, maybe because she's a witch, she can make it awesome, but normally it's real bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Since she can just casually, take this, munch him with him like it's scissors, and then he'll be a werewolf now. The film also mentions an ancient curse that was placed on Daninsky's ancestor, a Grand Inquisitor, hundreds of years ago by a medieval sorceress named Countess Bathory. I think she was was she a count? I think she was a count.
I don't
It's Elizabeth
know
Bathory. I know that, the lady who bathed in the blood of young women to be pretty forever. Don't do that. First of all, murder bad, doesn't work, and will give you diseases.
Will it?
Yes, bloodborne pathogens is one of the most virulent kind.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point.
Apparently, his ancestor had Bathory burned at the stake, but not before she managed to curse his entire family line. Now, in 1900, now is in quotes, the Daninsky curse has struck Daninsky, or Waldemar, who is transformed into a monster by the bite of the gypsy's wolf skull. This is so convoluted. You don't need all this.
Yeah,
you can have one or the other. You don't need both.
There's also the fact that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fact this is a reboot. They got in too deep and they're like, we're going to keep the same actor and the same premise. But
I mean, he wrote at least one of them, so I think he just really liked playing this one character.
I guess he could have had a different name. It could have been sort of the same archetype of the character and not had exactly the same name. If you're going to reboot, get a new actor.
The Countess Bathory is later revived from the dead to combat the Wolfman and the grand finale. But hey, there's no woman that loves him enough, so he's not ended. His torment isn't ended.
I'm surprised it's not the Countess Bathory for some reason.
It was probably the Countess Bathory.
She, I mean, that's the only, they're gonna have...
Maybe that pretty gypsy from earlier falls in love with him. Like, oh, I regret cursing you to be a werewolf. I love you now. And he's like, I'm a werewolf now.
I do gotta say, the Countess Bathory, or if that's what we're gonna call her, Elizabeth Bathory, I like, they found out about the nasty stuff that she was doing, and she did get her comeuppance. She was bricked into a set of rooms with only small slits left open for ventilation and the passing of food, and remained there for 4 years until her death. Not burned at the stake. Yowza.
Yeah. Again, don't do what she did.
No, people don't like that.
For several good reasons. All right. Up next, we have The Curse of the Beast from 1975.
I love every single one of these titles.
They're pretty good. Again, 2 years since the last one. Daninsky goes to Tibet to look for proof that the Yeti exists.
Another Yeti?
He gets captured by 2 savage vampire women in a cave who turn him into a werewolf by biting him.
I like how they're like, listen.
Remember that last time when you get bit by a werewolf? Psych! Vampires.
They showed the trailer, right? And everybody's like, oh, it's a retread. Like all the Reddit bros came on in 1979 or whatever.
They just rebooted this, so yeah, we're doing the Yeti thing again.
Yeti thing again. We know about all this. We'll go and watch anyway because we like Paul, but jeez, man. Come up with some new... Whoa! Oh, it was vampire women this time.
I mean, there's already been like 30 of those, but geez, was not expecting them this one time.
But they did the fake out with the Yeti, so yes, that was good.
That's true. Daninsky's friends are then kidnapped by a band of Tibetan pirates who torture their victims gruesomely, and in the grand climax of the film, Daninsky, in werewolf form, gets to fight a genuine Yeti in bloody hand-to-fang combat.
Here's the thing that's shocking me as we get deeper and deeper into this series. Not one single one of these movies has verses in the title.
Yes, they did.
Oh, in like the alternates?
No, but one of the ones we covered.
Oh, did it? Oh, which one?
That was like the third one. The werewolf versus the vampire woman. Or woman.
Oh, that was the one from episode 39 that we did.
No, that was Assignment Terror.
Okay. Well, all right, you're right. I just
You are wrong.
I was mistaken. But they all have this.
Yeah, for the most part, they all have these really good titles.
But they all do have this setup, or maybe like 90% of them have the setup of person becomes a werewolf or is a werewolf somehow and is revived and then is captured, tortured, which I don't know if they had like a thing for that in Spain. Maybe you guys were getting some stuff out of your system.
Maybe Paul did?
Maybe. And then forced to fight another supernatural creature, either another werewolf, a vampire, a Yeti in this case.
Aliens that one time. Actually, aliens, vampires, and the one example of Frankenstein's monster in the series that started with Frankenstein's Bloody Terror.
I'm sorry. So I got off track with that, just thinking about there's so many of these where they just end with a big fight. Is that the end of the description there?
No.
Okay.
Although a Yeti is involved in the plot, note, it is the 2 women, and not the Yeti, who transformed Daninsky into a werewolf in this film, thus giving him yet another origin for his lycanthropy. Which, bitten by vampire, is a new one.
It doesn't make any sense.
It does not. I mean, it kind of does, actually. In the old myths, a possible origin for vampires was a poorly disposed of werewolf.
Right, and there wasn't as much definition between a vampire and a werewolf.
They were kind of the same. Again, it was just the werewolf was someone who could become a wolf, wasn't really cursed. And then if you killed them and didn't dispose of the body properly, they'd come back as a vampire. Sort of. Like, there's different versions throughout all of the world and all of history, except for Australia.
What do they have?
Australia has no lycanthropy legends. They're like the only continent that doesn't. Except Antarctica, obviously.
Like, no people turning into any kind of animals?
I mean, there's like mystics becoming full animals, but there's no like, I am now a wolf man or
I always figured that like the werewolf idea was like all of cultures had originally had this mystical sort of, spirit animal or projection thing, and sort of it got corrupted over time as people became more and more literal. And so in Australia, you have these people who are living sort of in the more undistilled version of their original culture, and so they didn't get to that.
Possibly, yeah. All right. Up next, we have The Return of the Wolfman from 1975. So same year as the last one, they picked back up again.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, hey, we slowed down too much. Let's go.
Do we have another origin, or can we please have a sequel this time?
Daninsky is sentenced to be executed along with Elizabeth Bathory and a number of witches.
What? Is this a prequel?
No, because that was his ancestor. That was this, and he was just a Grand Inquisitor.
Right.
This is Waldemar Daninsky. I'm just not pronouncing the first name because I don't do it right.
I don't understand how it's him. Are you sure it's not like his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather that had the same name Waldemar and it looks exactly like him?
That is entirely possible, but...
Like Tremors 4?
Like, I feel like this is just ignoring the previous movie and is a sequel to the one before them. Like, if they made a Batman movie now, that was a sequel to The Dark Knight Rises.
I mean, well, they're essentially just...
It would make everybody a lot happier.
They're just dropping... They're kind of doing that. Not like that, but they're just like, we've got some kind of a cinematic universe going on that may be in continuity with Batman, but we're also just gonna go over here and make a standalone Joker movie that has nothing to do with anything, and you guys can figure it out, right?
Yep.
And you know what the answer is? Yes, we can.
Right on. Anyway, sentenced to be executed along with Bathory and a number of witches. Since it is nearly impossible to truly kill him, he is left in a kind of living death with a silver dagger through his heart and an iron mask to keep him from biting.
Okay.
Centuries later, the dagger is removed and Daninsky returns to activity, fighting against a revived Elizabeth Bathory and her demonic manservant. And I guess the witches are still dead.
So she's just a vampire, right?
She's just been a vampire for a while.
Okay. I like the aspect of... I don't know what it is, but the idea of just being stuck somewhere, even if you're not in pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a Stephen King short story, I think, called The Long Trip or the Jaunt,
right?
Where they essentially like astral project people to another planet somehow, and they have to essentially... It takes them, like 1,000 years to get there or whatever, but they sedate them before they go in. Like they knock them out somehow so that they won't actually experience that time. But the story is that this one kid like sneaks around the sedation because he's an idiot and he's like, I'm going to see what it's like. And he comes out just like horrified because he's just been like essentially stuck in a frozen... like bodiless form for 1,000+ years, and he finally gets back. And anyway, I love those kinds of tortures is what I'm saying as a concept. Like that's truly horrifying that you would be stuck for a significant portion of your life.
Yep.
Anyway.
Up next we have The Beast and the Magic Sword from 1983.
So we're skipping how many years now?
75 to 83, so 8.
All right. This seems like, just the title of this sounds like a departure. Like, magic sword's a fantasy trope. I know that werewolves are fantastical beasts, but...
I mean, we had witches earlier.
Yeah, but that's still...
And the
like,
Yeti.
I've never seen a horror movie with a magic sword before that I can remember.
I'm coming up with nothing, but do you count Conan? Anyways... In the 16th century, the lycanthrope Waldemar Daninsky goes from his native Europe to Japan, seeking a way to cure himself of being a werewolf. Only a Japanese sorcerer named Kian and a magic silver sword can save him.
So this is their attempt to break in the Japanese market?
Yeah.
All right.
This film moves the Daninsky family curse back to a medieval setting, as naturally felt the Daninsky saga needed not always be confined to a modern-day setting. I feel like it's been in medieval times before, but sure, why not?
So they're... So I'm just trying to get a grip on this. This is like... He's done a lot of werewolf movies as this guy, and he wants to continue being a werewolf as this guy, but in a different setting. So this is like Spider-Man Noir, but with a werewolf. Or what's the one with Batman where he's in Ninja Batman? Where he's in...
There's Batman Ninja. There's also Gotham by Gaslight.
Right.
That's a good movie. I haven't read the comic, but it's a good movie. That's all we have for that one. Pretty short.
Okay.
Next up, we have Lycanthropus, The Moonlight Murders from 1996.
Wow. So they're really slowing down now.
13 years later, yeah.
96. I mean, I was alive for that one.
Yeah. Daninsky is an aging writer, still suffering from his werewolf curse, which is really autobiographical at this point, and seeking the pure woman that is the only permanent cure. Because he remembers, remember that first couple
Remember
movies?
when there was hot ladies? You shoot me with a bullet. Let's do that again.
A serial killer pops up in his neighborhood, and the two compete for victims. Which the second dude is really out of his depth.
That is so wild. Like, that is completely... Everything else has been like...
A vampire, a yeti, aliens,
right, and
witches.
now he's like just some guy who's run down in, I don't know, New
Jason
York.
Voorhees showed up.
Right, and like
movie 2 Jason.
Well, or I was going to say maybe Dexter, but like like if he didn't have morals. You know, just a regular, boring serial killer comes and starts killing people, and this guy's like, I might be old, but it is on, my man. And then he starts killing people too. Like, it's a weird, like, it reminds me of Logan, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're like, we're going to remove you from a lot of the fantastical elements of this universe and like make it more gritty. And also he's old now.
And up next, and finally, the 12/11, if you count the Lost film, Tomb of the Werewolf from 2004.
Is he dead in this one? Did they get his corpse of the actor to just, like, appear?
I believe he's the same actor still. Yeah, he is. He's the same actor. Richard Daninsky, the descendant of Waldemar Daninsky, inherits a castle that may have a hidden treasure and takes a reality TV show crew along to document his search. Vampire Elizabeth Bathory gets Richard Daninsky to remove a silver dagger from the body of his ancestor, Waldemar Daninsky, who was residing in a crypt beneath the castle for many decades.
So is Waldemar played by the original...
Still played by Paul Naschy.
But then Richard is played by somebody else?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Anyways, he removes that, causing Waldemar to revive and go on a rampage as a werewolf, where he will probably be killed by someone who loves him. But that is the end of the Waldemar Daninsky franchise so far.
Is he still alive?
I don't remember.
I know I've asked you this already like several times. What's the actor's name again?
Paul Naschy. Naschy. Died in 2009.
Oh, man. Dig up his bones!
I mean, you can use, stock footage. They did with a bunch of Godzilla movies.
We can bring him back to life like, what's his
We
face?
can go full meta,
Tarkin.
man.
Who?
We can go full metal with this. Just use stock footage and say it was him revived.
I guess we could find the lost film and use that footage.
There you go. Yeah, that's all we have for the series. That is everything.
I gotta say, I admire this man's dedication to the character. If there's something about it, it kind of echoes back to the the Tim Burton movie Ed Wood, where he's is it Lon Chaney? No, not Lon Chaney.
Bela Lugosi?
Where Bela Lugosi is kind of dried up and sort of played out, but he still has the love of the game.
Right.
Willing to do anything just to get back into acting. And I don't know if that's actually how it was, but it's kind of through the weirdness of these descriptions, I feel like I've gotten a window into this guy's life.
It's been a ride.
The first one, by the way, was also called The Mark of the Wolfman.
Yes.
And
Hell's Creatures. And the Knights of Satan.
And the Ghosts of Dracula.
And Hell Creature Singular. And non-possessive.
And the Vampire of Dr. Dracula.
Yes.
There's a lot of alternate titles.
Like I said, I think all of these had alternate titles except for the missing movie.
I'm also going to complete this by mentioning that the Lost Knights of the Wolfman that we mentioned in the previous episode, not only did he stay in Paris to shoot it according to what he claimed, the story goes on that the director was supposedly killed in a car crash right after the scenes were completed. And he also couldn't remember anybody else who was supposed to be in the film. And Jean Govar, the director, seems
That's
like...
Renee, but okay. Ooh.
You're correct. He has an IMDb credit. Rene Govar has the one...
He's director of one thing, one writer credit.
Las Noches de Hombre Lobo. He might not have existed, and this movie might not have existed, but it is on IMDb.
Recorded for all time.
I can't... There's a part of me that wants to, like, make the story of this lost movie, but, like, there's actual werewolves involved.
Like, that one Nosferatu movie.
Oh, what is it called?
I was reading about it the other day, but...
Night... No, it was... I've seen it. I actually reviewed it for my other podcast.
It's a movie about making Nosferatu, but the guy playing... Or Max Schreck is actually a vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire. Yeah. Good movie, by the way. Weird movie, but good. But that is all we have for this week. Somebody write up the fictional biography of Rene Govar. I'm sure, because that's the kind of thing, right? Like, everybody's excited about Abraham Lincoln, so you make Abraham Lincoln versus... Wait, zombies? What did he do? Yeah, versus zombies. Abraham Lincoln, Werewolf Hunter was the respectable...
Vampire, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vampire
I would
Hunter.
have been so much happier if it was werewolves.
That's the respectable marsh wiggle. That's the respectable version. And, Rene Govar, the name is on everyone's lips. And I think you could definitely make a lot of money if you talked about him and his, like, antics with the werewolves as he made this movie.
I would really like again, Shadow of the Vampire version of, like, the Lost film.
Yeah.
And then it's lost because...
actual vampires and werewolves showed up and fought each other.
Yeah, Paul just, like, goes berserk as a werewolf and destroys all the thing and eats the director and it's like, he died in a car crash. Shifty eyes.
He eats all of his co-stars and he's like, I don't remember them. It certainly wasn't those people that all died in a week.
How bizarre.
It exists, though. It definitely does.
going back to Spain now to work on the third movie, which will be about a carnival and aliens.
Thank you guys so much for watching or listening, whatever you did to this. If you like this, don't forget to tell a friend about us. Subscribe to this, however you get your podcasts, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.